Barbara from Caring Arts. All the trees are in bloom. It's one of the things I really love about the spring. Magnolias, redbuds, flowering plums and cherries, they're all blooming. Last autumn we created a landscape with pastels showing all the beautiful fall colors on the trees. So I thought it would be fun to do one for the spring with all the flowering trees. It's really easy, so let's get started. So we're going to create the spring landscape. It's very impressionistic, and it's basically flowering trees in a kind of a floodplain. And it's really easy. There's only a few things you need. You will need some paper. You can use pastel paper if you like, but I am simply using basic construction paper. I'm going to pull out the blue. You can use really any medium color. A medium green works well, or whatever color you like. But blue is really the best because we're going to use that as our background for the sky and the water. And then you need a set of pastels. I often use this starter set of pastels, which I've gotten from the local craft store. They're short versions. They're actually half sticks, and you get a set of 36 for about $6, so they're really great. And then if you don't want to get your fingers dirty, you can use Q-tips for blending. I just like to use my fingers. And then you'll need something to clean your fingers off. Wipes are good, or a paper towel. I tend to use both. And if you have a soft kneaded eraser, that's great for erasing pastel. We're probably not going to use that very much in this project, but it's soft and pliable, and it works really well with pastel. This is going to be my color palette, so I've pulled these colors out of my box. I may not use all of them, but I'm pretty much sticking to these. I've got a dark brown. I've got a couple of different selections of greens, kind of a dark medium and a very light spring green. It's kind of a yellow green. And then a selection of blues, kind of an aqua, light blue, and medium blue. And then lilac, and I've got a bright pink, and I've got white. Now, if you don't have exactly these same colors, you can substitute yellow, perhaps, for the pink or the lilac, or you could use a peach color, like a light orange, something like that. But you want it to be in this general selection of pastel colors. So I've got my blue construction paper, and I'm going to start by taking one of my green colors. It could be your darker or medium kind of green. And I'm going to draw a line using the edge of the green about in the middle of the paper, straight across. And that is going to be my water line. Everything below that line is going to be water, and it's going to end up with a soft appearance. And everything above that line is going to be the actual scene. And I'm going to use slightly different techniques for both. So that's just my dividing line. And then the next thing I'm going to do is going to take my white, and I'm going to rough in some clouds. Now, these are very easy to do. You're just really laying down some color in kind of a rough cloud shape, whatever looks good to you. But I'm keeping those pretty close to the top edge of the paper, and then my trees are going to be below that. So, and your trees can kind of go into the clouds if you like. There's no particular rules here, but I'm just laying down some color that are going to be my clouds. You can put 1, 2, 3, whatever you like. Probably not one, but a couple of clouds in whatever shapes and sizes you want to create. And then we're not really going to blend those much. You can blend them a little bit just because clouds tend to have kind of a soft appearance around the edge, but we want to maintain the texture on the whole top half of this drawing. So if you want to blend it a little bit just to create some soft edges here and there, you can do that. Just so your clouds have a nice, soft, puffy appearance. And then you can also create shadows. Clouds have shadows. And the way to do that is to take some color out. So you don't have to do this, but if you'd like to, I'd take a clean finger, usually my pinky, and just take some color out of it by rubbing a clean finger over it. Now you see I've got a little shadow there. I want to give a sense of light or perhaps even clouds coming through the trees from behind them. So I'm going to take my light blue, I think this one here, and I'm just going to draw some lines, kind of blocks of color, going straight up. Just kind of streaks of color here and there. And that's the only part of this that I'm actually going to blend. And I'll do that in one moment. But this is going to give a sense of a light coming through the trees. And again, because this is very impressionistic, you don't have to worry too much about the shapes. I'm going to add a little bit of white too. I'm going to use the side of my white and just draw some streaks. It's going to look like some streaks of light. And then I want to blend that with my finger. And that's really going to be the only thing I'm going to blend on the top part of this drawing. So it's really just a sense of light. You're not going to get any particular shapes going on there. But I don't really want them to look like shapes, which is why I'm blending them. So it just looks like some color in the background. And then we're going to start putting in our trees. And to do that, I'm going to take the dark brown and just create lines from my green water line straight up using the edge of my brown pastel, and they're going to look like trunks of trees. So it's just going to be a line using the edge, and then you can have some little branches coming off of them, and some can be thicker than others, and you can put some close to each other and then some a little farther apart. They don't have to be perfectly straight. And then again, you can add some little branches coming off of them. We're going to end up putting some leaves on top of there. But trees in a forest or a stand of trees, you're going to have some thick, some thin. The thin ones look farther away, like they're kind of behind the thicker ones. And then you can also even just add some blocks of brown color at the bottom to kind of tie them together. And we're just going to add those going all the way across, just like that. Right now it looks like dead trees, basically, which is what they would look like in the winter, but we're going to bring them to life in just a minute. So here I've got my whole line of trees roughed in with my brown. And some of them are connected at the bottom and some of them aren't. And there's some that are close together and some farther apart. Some are thick, some are thin. Many of them have little branches coming off, but right now they look like a stand of dead tree because we haven't put the leaves and flowers on them yet. So we're going to do that next. And you should wipe off your hands as you go, either using a paper towel or the wipes. I use both. And then next we're going to put in some bushes down along the bottom. I'm going to start with my darker green, which is what I used for my line. And here and there, I'm just going to add additional color that looks like some bunches of bushes at the bottom. Just here and there, because I'm going to use a few different colors to do this. So wherever you like, you can add a little bit of green at the bottom. And we're going to start to bring this little forest of trees to life by increasingly adding bushes and leaves and flowers. And you can see I'm just kind of dabbing in color here and there. It's not any particular shape. And when we get done, you can always go back and add more color, more definition if you like. I tend to keep this pretty vague. But it's starting to look like there's little groups of bushes down along our water line. So, and the trees go behind some of them, and in others they go right into them. So, I'm going to do that. And then next I'm going to take my bright green, because that's really the spring green color, and I'm going to add some more of those here and there. There's no particular shape. These are really just little blocks of color here and there. But I'm going right over the brown in some places, and in others I let the tree come in front. And you can let it come up as high as you like. But just adding these little pops of color here and there. As you get color on your pastel, you just want it to have some fresh color. You can see the brown's kind of muddying it up. So I'm just turning to get some nice fresh color on there. And I'm just going to keep doing that here and there all the way across. Wherever you feel you want some brighter green, go right on top of your green line or below it even a little bit if you like. I mean, there's really, can all be a little bit vague because that's how Impressionism looks. It's really about little blocks of color and light, and you're giving a sense of the forest coming to life. And then I'm going to add some of this pink color. I really like this bright pink. So I'm going to put in some, what looks like some flowering trees down at the bottom here. And again, just little, they look almost like little azaleas along our water line. Just little blobs of color here and there. Wherever you feel you need some nice brighter color. So we have our flowering bushes down at the bottom. And you can always go back and add more later if you feel you need some more of those. I'm going to add some in here. And I'm keeping these all pretty low, but you know, if you want them to be bigger, you can add bigger ones. And then I'm going to take my lilac and do the same thing, because there's really a variety of blooming things right now. So you want to give a sense there's a lot of different things blooming along our water line. So I'm just going to add a little bit of lilac here and there. And now it's beginning to look like we have some nice flowering bushes along our water line. And now I'm going to begin to add leaves to my trees. So I'm going to take my bright green color and I'm going to use the flat side of the pastel and just kind of turn it and rub it across the paper at the tops of the trees. You can see I'm just giving a sense of new leaves coming out on these trees just by kind of turning the pastel on its side. And I'm going to put some over here too. And if you feel you need some more color, just go in and add a little bit more. You can add a little more pressure. And the green, little pops of green, really bright here and there will look good. So that's beginning to look like a spray of new green leaves on the tops of the trees. And then I want to add some flowering trees as well. I think I'll take my lilac. It's kind of the color that red buds would be. And the same thing, using the side of my pastel here and there, and just kind of twist it at the tops of some of the trees. And you can do some lower and some higher. And make it look like there's some flowering trees here and there. Just like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the bright pink and add just some nice pops of bright pink just by twisting the pastel on its side here and there. Some higher, some lower, but these are not any particular shape, as you can see. So it's just adding this very impressionistic feel, and we're getting some what looks like nice flowering trees here and there. You don't want to overdo it, and in fact, if you want to go back and add some additional green, you could do that as well. Now, everything we did above our waterline, we're going to repeat below our waterline. We're going to be even less concerned about how perfect it is, but we're going to put color that match everything up here in reverse on the bottom. So I'm going to start actually with my light blue, and that color we put behind the trees, I'm just going to rough in some blue color, and I'm going to leave a bit of a line of dark blue paper all the way across, but I'm just going to rough in some color, some nice soft color wherever I put that light blue behind the trees. And I put a little bit of white as well, so I'm going to put some of that in here, kind of leaving a line of blue. If you cover up the line of blue too much, we can always go back and add some of that. But I'm again going to blend that a little bit, just like I did up above. And then I'm going to work in reverse to recreate everything I created up here, but I'm going to do it upside down. And I'm really not going to be too concerned about how perfect it is. So first I'm going to take my green, because I have my green bushes at the bottom, and I'm going to kind of, wherever I have a dark green bush, I'm going to create again below. And again, trying to leave a bit of blue line. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just to kind of emulate, wherever I put color up here, I'm going to put it down here, but in reverse. And then I'm going to take my spring green and add some of that as well. Wherever I have that, I'm going to put that down below. And it's going up higher here, so I'm going to have it come down over here, just to kind of emulate what I've done up above, I'm going to do below. And creating a reflection. And you don't have to worry about it being perfect. We're really just looking for the blocks of color more than anything. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my pink. Got some pink up here. So I'm going to put some over here and over here. Just creating a sense of a reflection. Next I have my lilac, little bits of it here and there. I'm still only worrying about my bushes at the moment. And now I'm going to add my trees. Wherever I put a line of brown for the trees up above, I'm going to do that down here. Just to kind of more or less emulate what you've done up above. They do not have to be perfect. And if you've got more brown, you can just add that into, you know, add your little branches. And I'm going to do that all the way across. Now I have my line of reflection trees going all the way across. You can see they are far from perfect. They don't precisely match. They just more or less mirror what is up above. So now we're going to add our leaves. And so in the same way, we're just going to use the side of the pastel and just kind of scrape wherever we have green leaves on the trees up above. We're going to put it down below here, just kind of emulating wherever we have green. It'll be at different heights, high and low, just like you have it up here. I'm really just literally twisting and scraping the side of the pastel across the paper. Just more or less mimicking what I have up above. And then we'll do the same exact thing with our lilac. So I have some lilac up here that looks like kind of, maybe there's a red bud back there. I'm going to add some of that color in here. And where else? Over here, I'm going to add some. Just kind of getting some color in. I have some here, I'm going to put some down here. And then do the same thing with the pink. So I'm going to take my pink here, and I have some pink, some here. Just mimicking more or less what you have up above. And then the very last thing is we're going to do the same thing with our white for our clouds. So we're just going to kind of mimic the clouds up above. They can even go off the edge of the paper. So I've got my clouds up there, I've got clouds down here. So it looks like they're reflected in the water, and I have one little cloud here. So I'm going to add some white. So it looks like that cloud is in there. And there we are. So now here's the magical part. We're going to blend all of this reflection in the water. So it really looks like a reflection. I'm going to wipe my fingers off first before I do that. And you want to keep wiping your fingers as you do this if you get too much color on them. So I'm going to take my finger and I'm just going to start along the line where my reflection is, and I'm going to pull my finger straight down through all that color, just like this. And you want to just keep wiping your fingers off as you get a lot of color on them. But I'm just going to keep doing that all the way across. And just keep blending all that color. And I'm stopping to wipe my fingers off every couple of swipes, just so I don't get it too muddy. But now we're starting to get what looks like a nice soft reflection. I'm holding my paper because it's kind of thin, and I don't want to crumple it. And then just keep blending all the way across till your colors, you have a nice soft line. And you can see I still have kind of a little line of blue. We can darken that up, or you could take your kneaded eraser if you want more of the blue paper to show, and just wipe it along that line. In order to clean a kneaded eraser, you just pull it apart and put it back together. The nice thing is you can shape it into a kind of a narrow edge, and use that just to create a line of the dark blue paper right where you want it. It doesn't have to be perfect. But now we've created this really nice reflection in the water. But the other thing is that water also has a surface, and we want to get a sense of that surface on the water. So I'm going to once again take my finger, but this time I'm going to pull it all the way across going this way. And that's going to be begin to give a sense of the surface of the water. And again, I'm wiping my finger off after each long swipe. So now I have something that looks like a subtle, soft reflection. Now it looks like water. And now's the time to add whatever little adjustments you want to do. In the springtime, water will have trees growing right out of the middle of it. So I'm going to take my dark brown and bring some of my trunks down into the water. Just a couple of them here and there. So it looks like they're in front And they're growing in this floodplain, and the water is kind of surrounding them. So I'm just going to add a few like that. You can bring them down to different depths because they wouldn't necessarily all be growing in the same line. And then the last thing I'm going to do, sometimes you get little ripples on the water. You could use your white for this. I like to use my light blue, and I'm going to use the very edge of it, and just kind of where the water's going around the trunk of the tree, it might create a little ripple like that. And you might get those here and there on the surface of the water. So I'm just going to add a couple of those very lightly here and there. It's just a little line. Looks like a little ripple of water. And you can soften those a little bit if you want. And now we have our beautiful impressionistic spring landscape.